Okay, here we go. Color wheel. So I think I finally got my recording working. So here we are. We've built out our new file according to directions here. We've turned on our rulers by doing Control R. And now we are going to show the grid. And if we need to adjust our grid, then we can do so in the preferences. So you can go to Preferences and go down to Guides and Grid. And then here is the color. What you can pick whatever color you prefer. I'm going to try a light gray just so that it's not so distracting. And now I'm going to go to View, Show Grid. Okay, so here's our grid. Perfect. Let's scroll down. All right. So the first thing that we have to do is we are going to create the main circle. So I'm going to try to get this downloaded in such a way where it can be seen a little bit better. Okay. There it is. Okay, so I went ahead and downloaded the PDF just so it wasn't loading inside of a browser window, and I feel like that will help. Okay, awesome. So here we go. We need the ellipse tool, and it says use the ellipse tool to make a 7-inch circle buried. It's buried under the rectangle tool, which just means look for it in the group. Okay, so we're going to click on ellipse, and we're going to point kind of in the middle of the paper here, and I'm going to click and let go. And the reason why I'm going to click and let go is because that way it will pull up the ellipse tool so I can manually type in the number of inches and get the exact. Notice what happened here. I clicked right here in the middle of the paper, and it actually positioned the upper left corner of this object at that point where I had clicked it. Okay, so I am going to move this right here, and instead of it being filled with white, I am going to make it transparent so I can really see where the middle point of this. I can always align this better later, but you can see that you can tap with your arrow and also kind of make that be in the middle of your paper. Okay, so it says here, the circle will land off center. Use the Align tool on the control bar. This is the control bar on top, to center the circle vertically and horizontally on your artboard in the center. So look down here. It says Align to Artboard. This is really important. In order for us to get this mathematically correct, we are going to not drag it around. That was just approximate. We are going to align it to the artboard using the vertical and horizontal alignment. So if you come on up here, you'll see right about here in this center, there is a drop-down box to the left of the alignment tools. Find it. Click and hold, and make sure it says Align to Artboard, which it probably will just say that automatically. So here we go, Align to Artboard. That's what we need. Now here is the horizontal alignment. Click that. And here is the vertical align center. So horizontal align center, now vertical align center. So what's interesting is because we have an 8.5-inch document, the center point here you'll see is not landing on the grid. And that is because we have an 8.5-inch wide here. So don't worry about the fact that it looks like that. Okay, that's accurate. So now it is perfectly vertically centered and horizontally centered. And all of the shapes that we put in here must be done like that so that when we stack them on top of each other, the divide in Pathfinder will work. All right. Next step. We need an exact circle that is precisely 75% smaller than the original circle. So with this circle selected, we are going to use what's called the scale tool. The scale tool. So we are going to come in here and look for it. Okay, so here's reflect. There it is. Okay, so the scale tool is right below the eraser. So here we've got that selected, and it says double click on it. Okay, so we're going to double click on it. So now we've got our scale menu, and we're going to change this from 70 to 75, and we're going to leave this scaling of strokes in place. And here's the part that's really important. We don't want to hit OK. We want to hit copy. Now, nothing happened. Why is that? Because I deselected my circle before I by accident. I deselected my circle before I double clicked on scale. So now let me double click on scale, and you can see because this is selected, it's actually going to make a copy of this at 75%, and then I'm going to hit copy. Okay, so I keep getting interrupted here. What did we just do? We just did the copy. And now we're going to move on, and we are going to do our third interior circle. So just like before, except we are not going to deselect or anything. We are making a 40% copy of the currently selected circle. Okay, so I'm going to double click again. I'm going to change this to 40. And you'll notice that it looks like it goes away, but it's not going to, because you're going to hit copy. And when you hit copy, it will create that third circle, and it will be nested inside of there. Okay. So are there any questions so far? All right, great. Okay, so now we are on the part where we are going to create the star. So for this polygon, we need it to be a star with 2 different radius settings in order to get this interior piece. So to do this, it says select the star. I'm going to just leave this where it is. You could also deselect if you want, but we got to go find the star tool. So we've got that. First, that's depressed, and then it says click once at the center of your circles to call up the dialog box. Okay, so I'm going to click once, and here is my radii star dialog box. So I'm going to go in here and type in my radii settings, and then I need 12 points on my star. Okay, and now what you will notice, and this part is essential, is there is a slight overlap here, but there is a gap here. This will never divide properly. Now, it is not positioned correctly. So what we have to do is we have to align it once again. Okay, so here let's take a look at the directions. It says your color wheel should look like it is now. If your star had a white fill, change it to no fill. Okay, so we have been on no fill this whole time. But here's the problem. It is not aligned. Okay, so, and I don't know why it didn't perfectly align, but guess what? It's essential that it is. So what we have to do is make sure we are aligned to the artboard again, and we have to horizontal center and vertical align center. Okay, so we have to click those two things to make sure that these anchor points are touching this path all the way around this circle. So I'm just doing a quick check, because if there's a part that's off, then we're in trouble and we will have to start the whole thing over again. Okay, it looks pretty good. All right, so now we are going to add the polygon that's on the interior, and you can see that is this line that goes between the circle and the star. So now we're going to add that next, and you'll see that the polygon requires 12 sides as well, but it has a radius of 1.5. So I'm going to come back here to my polygon. I'm going to click in the center so that it pulls up the dialog box, and then I'm going to type my settings here. Okay, so now we've got that, and it is off center once again. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to make sure that it is centered horizontally and vertically using my alignment tools. And now once again, it should be perfect. Okay. Now it's time for the line segments. The line segments are a series of 12 segments that will rotate around. I am only going to draw the first one manually, and the rest of them I'm going to use a special tool to copy and place and reflect it, so I don't have to manually try to join up all those anchor points. Okay, so it says use the line segment tool to create that diagonal, and then zoom in to do this work. It must be exactly correct. Okay, so it says, you notice how these are literally anchoring on the anchor points. It's very important that they connect. So here we go. I'm going to first deselect, and now I'm going to get my line tool. I'm going to zoom in, and I am going to click right here. And I'm going to pull, and I'm going to zoom out, okay, so I can see, and then I'm going to drop it right onto this anchor point. Very important. If there is, you can always reposition it if it didn't end up right there where you wanted it to be, okay, and I can highlight this and also double check really closely and just see that that anchor point has a joining. If it is not joined, it will not divide. Okay, so that is the thing to remember. If it's not, these anchor points are not positioned right here, it won't divide later. Okay, so let's move on. It says you can do each one manually, making sure it's exactly perfect, or you could rotate it using the technique we will learn right now for radial symmetry. Make one line and then use your rotate tool option in the center, and you're going to input this 360 degrees divided by 12 segments into the dialog box. So this is what we're going to try right now together. So what you're going to do is first I'm just going to make sure that my line is selected. And then I am going to go find my rotate tool. Let's see, where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so on the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items down is my rotate tool. So I am going to click and let go. Wait, let's come back over here and double. I think it's make one line segment, input, option click. Okay, so I've got an option click. So coming back here, making sure this, I think I can double click. Let's try that. Nope. I'm not sure why. I think it might be that it's the selection. Let me try to deselect. Okay, so I had to deselect. I guess it wasn't happy with me selecting it. So I deselected, and then I held Alt, and then I clicked, and now I'm going to do 360 divided by 12. Okay, because that's the angle. There's going to be 12 of these in a 360-degree rotation. So I'm going to type that in, and then I'm going to hit, let's come over here. I think I should be able to hit copy. And now I am going to grab this, and I should be able to rotate it. So it says Command D, the diagonal line around the circle. Okay, so for us, Command is Control. Okay, so if I do Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. Now I'm going to take a look at what happened. And this, for me, did not work. And the reason why it didn't work is because something happened with the way I initially positioned everything. So what I'm going to do is, of course, I'm going to have to undo and delete this. And I'm going to have to start again. Unfortunately, I don't have any other choice. So I'm going to back it up. And just to make sure that my whole shape is centered again, I'm going to highlight it all, and I'm going to do a horizontal align center and then a vertical align center. Okay, I'm just making double sure. And then what I'm going to do to kind of make my life easier for joining all of these pathways together is I am going to change my stroke here. I'm going to bump my stroke up to 1 point. And then that way it'll thicken up these lines a little bit. And I'm hoping it will make it a little bit easier for these lines to join. So let me try one more time. I'm going to highlight here. I'm going to click and pull down on the diagonal. And I'm going to try to get that lined up as best I can. And then I am going to double click on my rotate tool. And I'm just going to leave that selected, and I'm going to say 360 divided by 12. I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to do Control D. I think now I've got to copy it first. Edit. Copy. And now Control D. No, it's not working. I guess I did need to hit copy. So 360 divided by 12. Hit copy. There we go. Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. Okay. So now let's take a look at the joins, and they look pretty good. Okay, so now I've got all of my basics here, and it says that we have to make sure our color is white fill and black stroke. This is really quite important. If we don't make sure these are filled, there won't be any shapes inside of it after we divide it. So we needed it to be transparent so we could see what we were drawing. But now it's time to highlight everything and change it to white fill. Okay, so white is all Fs on our hex code. So I'm going to type in all Fs. And you can see my circle underneath is behind. I think that's because when I started making these lines, it went on, you know, it went behind there. So you can kind of see in the stacking order here that it got pulled in the background. It was because I had to restep my drawing a little bit. So I just opened up in the layers panel, I just pulled this circle back up in the stacking order just so I could see everything here. Okay, so everything's got a white fill and a black stroke now. Then now is the moment of truth. The moment of truth is going to be whether this divides or not. So we are going to highlight everything. And you can see here, everything is all highlighted in their example, selected for. And then we are going to do the divide option in our Pathfinder. So I'm going to highlight everything, make sure it's all blue, and go to Pathfinder. Okay, here's my Pathfinder panel. And now I'm going to click divide. Okay, so now what we have to do is make sure it worked. So we can't move on until we double check all the shapes. So I'm going to click off of it. So you got to deselect first, then grab your direct select tool. And now, as long as I can click on every shape and see the little blue circles, that's okay that that's joined right here because that's all going to be black anyway. So these three, I don't expect to divide that well. That's okay. As long as these middle ones are good and these don't have, they're not connected to other things, you know that all of these shapes can be colored individually. So for instance, like I said, this has to be black. So I will turn this white fill into black and so on. And so then we'll continue through to color the remainder of the color wheel.